Welcome to Season 2 of the Responsible Marketing Podcast. Conversations about marketing, sustainability, and how we can all help in becoming more responsible organisations. I'm Jo, a marketing strategist and consultant with a career spanning corporate, small medium business, and self-employment, incorporating marketing and commercial skills in various guises. And now flying the flag for a more sustainable and kinder future for all. In this first episode of Season 2, I'm joined by Chris and Issy, the dad and daughter super team from Howell Media based in the northeast of England. We touch on how the business has changed since it began, how working with multi-generational family members can bring a whole new dynamic, insights and skills to a business, the challenges of the film industry and where a professional outfit works in an uprising of amateur filmmakers, the values within the business and how these are vital to Howell Media's success, as well as some hot tips about how to make sure your content creation is really hitting the mark. Let's dive straight in. Hi and welcome to today's podcast. I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by Chris and Issy from Howell Media. Hi guys.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for having us.
It's an absolute pleasure as always.
Thank you.
So just to kick off, can you tell us a bit about Howell Media, both your roles in Howell Media and where it all started?
Who's gonna go for this one?
Really, you were where it all started,
Okay.
to be honest. So I think you kick us off, and then
Right.
I'll...
Okay. So very briefly, because this could take your entire podcast, Jo. So
I know you quite well.
Thank you. Howell Media are a multidiscipline media business based in the wonderful Barnard Castle. Mm-hmm. In the very dark past, we started as a graphic design business, and then over the years we've gone increasingly towards film, and to the point where we were just film probably about 9 years ago, something like that. Mm-hmm. Now we've opened it out again to be a more broader offering in terms of content creation, in terms of we do some more graphic design work again now, so kind of come full circle a little bit. We're a proud family business.
Can you tell by the resemblance?
I know. I was going to say proud, actually. Pride, shining,
yes.
Not the resemblance.
And I suppose there's no real secret to our success, insofar as it's a lot of hard work, a little bit of talent.
I'd say quite a
lot of talent.
Yeah.
We've got some kind of key philosophies that we work towards. And I know we're going to touch on some of those today.
Don't jump the gun.
Spoiler alert. In terms of our roles, I'm the MD, so in theory I kind of oversee the whole operation, and then Izzy here is head of production, and she actually makes the damn thing work.
Yeah.
Well, that's a nice way of putting it. Yeah, I was going to say, so I'm there is a natural hierarchy in a family business. Being the daughter, I'm always kind of making sure you're all right. But within that, so I oversee the production part of it, and I work with clients to bring whatever ideas they have to life, pretty much. And we work very well together. It's like a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah, kind of.
That we.
Good word.
It's like a family therapy session, isn't it?
Well,
well, we work together really well, and we basically, you bring certain things, I bring certain things, and it seems to work. So we're just going to keep doing it.
Excellent.
That seems like
That makes sense, doesn't it? If it works, let's just carry on doing it.
Yeah. And over the years, we've learned some really valuable lessons. We've had some great successes, some less so.
We've weathered the pandemic, so that's good.
We've weathered the pandemic. We've got an amazing bunch of clients we work with. I'm really thrilled that we've got a really high retention rate, insofar as we do have a client that's been with us. Well, before Izzy was born, who's still with us.
Not to be that old, but
still with us.
I know, it says a lot about my age, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. So, so I'm really pleased with that. And we've got a great bunch of people that work in and around the business. So again, that works really well. And one of the key philosophies is the kind of the keep learning mindset.
Curious.
Curious. I was described as a curious optimist, which I quite like.
Oh, that's
So I'll take that. So
it's better than being a furious pessimist.
Yeah.
So.
maybe I misheard. Maybe I misheard. Maybe I'm just a furious pessimist, but a curious optimist. I kind of like that. So so we just keep chipping away, and hopefully some of the good stuff sticks.
Excellent. And was it always the intention to have a family business? Did you always just desperately want to go into work with your dad?
But you had no choice.
No.
I
wasn't born into it. I think what it was is that obviously, my dad, Chris, was sort of always in business my whole life. So I remember growing up in offices and just being in and around it. And you've obviously worked in the creative industry my whole life. So I was exposed to it from quite early on, and the same with my brother, who's older than me. But my brother's an animator and I'm an editor, and in marketing as well. And we both kind of ended up in the same sort of world as yourself. And I think what happened is that your design clients at the time, if I remember correctly, it was around the time when film was starting to become a lot more accessible. It was around the time where the promotional content creation industry was really starting to boom, and that was sort of mid-2010s, maybe earlier than that.
Maybe slightly earlier, but
and it was around when video content was basically starting to become so much more accessible.
Yeah.
And I think you had clients who were asking for video content, and you were like, well, I've got 2 kids who know how to make stuff. Yeah. And me and my brother, I remember I remember once coming home from school and helping out with a product video for like a school chat. Me and my brother made promos for your clients.
It's child labour.
No, I know, but that was like
probably before child labour rules came in.
But that
so
was
you're
from
right.
quite early on. So I think throughout my sort of teen years and onwards, we kind of started doing bits and bobs together, and then I just think we just saw it working and just kept going with it.
And I think we at one stage we had a converted garage that was a studio, and again, Issy would come home from school and there'd be like a minor celebrity being interviewed in the garage, real kind of high end stuff.
And I just closed the door. But I would come home and we'd make sort of little videos, and that I think they're still being used by that company as well from many years ago. But that was kind of the start of it, and then I ended up being an intern on a local TV channel when I first moved up to Newcastle, and fell in love with video editing, and really all our skills kind of melded together. And my mum's an English teacher and a writer and stuff, so all the kind of creative skills in our family all kind of complemented each other. And then we
inevitable that you
we're like the
one way or the other, wasn't it?
We're like the Von Trapps of media.
That as well. I think we definitely need to do a little photo of that. So. Yeah, that's definitely one to do.
There's only 4 of us.
So when you're doing the TikTok next time.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're talking about the business, you talk a lot about specialising dynamic and relevant high quality content, which you could assume as an outsider that kind of relates to the equipment you use. Perhaps maybe it's right, really maybe expensive, but very good cameras, like brilliant gadgets that you employ and things like that. But it could also, I would guess, you tell me, I kind of know, it would reflect on the type of content you actually put out.
Yes.
So rather than being the equipment, it's actually, like you say, the creative side of that really.
It's the people using it. I think if the skills weren't there to use the cameras that we have, they would just be paperweights basically. And I think what we've done, I suppose, throughout the years is we've worked with the people first and then identified or taken their advice and built the equipment that we use around them. So like it's kind of like we haven't forced our equipment or our kit and the way we do things on other people. We've kind of organically grown, and the people that work within our business have kind of complemented that really.
And it's such a it's such a fast moving environment insofar as the equipment. I mean, over the years I've thought, well, yes, this is we need to get a I remember when a 4K camera came out. I was like, well, gosh. How can anything, 4K, that's the biggest thing, wow, that's it. That's the end of the line. And now, we haven't got one yet, but you can get a 12K Blackmagic. We're a Blackmagic business.
6K now.
But we're 6K now.
What does that mean, the Blackmagic business? I mean,
Basically,
what I'm thinking of, clearly, like witches and covens.
So basically, there's a company out there that have got an incredible
an ecosystem.
An incredible ecosystem, and they're called Blackmagic Design, and they manufacture cameras, they manufacture software. DaVinci Resolve is a Blackmagic piece of software, and essentially what we did is quite a few years ago we committed 100% to that ecosystem. So if Blackmagic make it, we have it in our workflow. So every part of our business that is production orientated is a Blackmagic business. So we use a Blackmagic camera, we use Blackmagic software. So the live ethos, live streaming equipment, everything. Purely because it's quite simple to use, which kind of suits me.
Don't give it all away.
And B, it's just robust and it's accessible as well. So in a world where you could spend £25,000 on a lens, being able to buy a really good quality cinema grade camera for £3,000-4,000 is actually, I mean, it's an awful lot of money, but it's
from a business where it is your,
but it's still an entry level, and we're very, we really fly the flag for Blackmagic.
I think what we have within that though is that because what we end up doing is that I always say if you put all of our clients in a room together, I think the only thing sometimes that would unify them is the fact that they work with us, because they're all from so many different industries that we could be doing, like we're doing a live event on Wednesday, but then we could be outdoors on a building site, and then we could be in a restaurant. Like the environments are always changing, and I think like rather than having a different piece of equipment specifically for that type of world, we go for equipment that we use across the board. So the
very
same
versatile.
cameras, so the same cameras that I was filming with outdoors on a outdoor site last week are going to be used for an event this week. So they do get a lot of work out of them.
Another quick point I was going to make about the kind of like how fast things are moving though is that, so again, without plugging Blackmagic again, you can now get for free the Blackmagic software for an iPhone and an Android phone. And that gives you exactly the functionality on your phone that we've got on our Pro cameras, to the point where we've got an iPhone 15 Pro Max thing as part of the business. That camera running that software is as good as Pro level cameras we were using 4 years ago.
Really? Okay. So it's not quite as good as what you'd use now.
No,
I was going to say, well,
it's not
what's
quite as good
stopping
as
them
what
using a phone
well,
all the
actually,
time rather than taking a big camera?
really. I mean, it's a bit of a people have an expectation that when we show up, we've got the big fancy gear. If we showed up to a shoot with just an iPhone, they would go, hang on a minute, we're paying these guys. I've got an iPhone in my pocket. I would argue that, like our lead camera operator Andy, we could give him a potato and he'd make you a brilliant film with it. I mean, in a sense that
it's not just the equipment, is it? It's the brains behind.
And ultimately, because people do get lost in that. People do get lost. Like, I've got the best equipment, I've got the best editing software, but if I can't tell a story, and I can't design and I can't edit, then ultimately it makes no odds.
Can I add, as the video editor in the room, that often the editing part does get forgotten. So when people think of filmmaking,
that's true.
They think of the cameras, which is obviously really important, but then it's just a bunch of ingredients without being cooked together at the end. So I think like it's a combination of I think what we've done over the years is we've really honed a sort of Howell signature style almost, which comes from really the skills that we've got and that we've nurtured over the years. So we've got filmmakers that we don't sort of just pick a random freelancer across the world and use them. The people we use for our shoots, we use them because they're our people. Yeah, they kind of complement what we do. And then my editing style, I think, as well, and our sort of house style gets kind of included in that. So that sort of dynamic, high quality stuff, we can't let something leave the office without it looking amazing. It's kind
Don't set me off.
Well, quite. I can only just imagine what that's like. So there's two things that I want to just pick out of there. So obviously you're quite specific when you look for people to join the team.
Yes.
And also clearly what you're doing works because of all the awards that you've been.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I was saying given, but awarded. Awards that have been awarded.
Awards
Yeah.
that have been awarded.
Yeah, thank you, gifted.
Yes.
Yeah. So talk to me about how do you go about kind of recruiting? Do you identify a gap in your services, or do you look for extra kind of like personal skill sets that then would complement the business?
I'd say it's a Sorry, did I just jump in there? It's a combination of the two. If you work with us, you've got to fit in, insofar as, and I don't mean that in a kind of arrogant way, but ultimately it's a fast-paced business. You've got to be able to work with me and Issy.
Which says a lot about us.
Well, I suppose
So being a family,
what I'm getting at is that you do...
And your expectations, by the way, as well, because you do expect...
We have high expectations, but I would argue that provided the person's got the raw ingredients, we can train them and steer them. But what they need is the right attitude, they need the right mindset. They've got to have the same kind of core values that we've got. And I know that's a bit of a hackneyed term.
No, it makes total sense.
You know, there is a certain type of person that wouldn't fit in within our business and maybe would thrive elsewhere. But we're very clear about, you know, we have positive discrimination insofar as you need to work with us. You've got to fit in.
Yeah, because we find that balance, I think, between sort of we're very sort of flexible, we're very supportive, we're very kind of, we want to kind of, when anyone has a unique style or anything, we want to kind of nurture that and encourage it, because I think that's where creativity comes from. And I think what I've learned through working in and amongst the production world for a few years now is that a lot of production companies sometimes don't treat the person with the camera as probably the most important person in that moment, and they don't look after them really. And what I think is that if you don't look after your filmmaker and give them everything they need so that they can just focus on the job in front of them, they won't produce their best work. And then by default, then we won't have the best footage, the client won't have the best footage, and it kind of has this knock-on effect where I think if you take care of the people that do the filming for you, they can be creative, so they shouldn't have to worry about where they're getting their lunch or how they get somewhere or how they don't have to worry about all the logistical faff around it. We get them to where they need to go, we look after them, we give them all the information they need, and then they feel supported enough that the work they create is to our standard. So it's kind of like, I think to
their best standard as well.
Yeah, exactly. Because if someone's exhausted, if someone's not got the right information, if something hasn't worked out, it just becomes stressful, and you can feel that when you're editing it. And I think that we've always just kind of had that mindset that if you commit to us and you're in it and you're up for it and you have the same energy that we have, which is a lot of the time, it kind of it complements each other, and we find that nice.
I think again, I am in danger of being a
we're just going to say the same.
I'm literally a walking cliche. You know, like everything I say looks like I've got, you know, the bumper book of like business, like one-liners. But it is true, like you know, all the old cliches about, you know, there's nothing in this business that we'd ask anybody to do that I wouldn't do. So you know, I mean, we do some odd things. So like, I don't know. Filming
paint drying.
We film paint drying, which is quite. But even like, you know, we get caught out in bad weather sometimes, outdoor stuff, and you know, or say, I don't know, say we're doing a big event that involves laying 100 meters of cables and stuff. You know, I'm as likely to be on my hands and knees with a roll of tape laying cable as anybody else.
I do know that for a fact because of Atomicon this year. I know that you were definitely on your knees in the dust, sorting cabling out, as was the rest of the team as well.
I think that that's an important thing insofar as we do have a clear, you know, ultimately it's got my name on it, so it is my business, it is me. But it is, and that's also an interesting thing, that you'd still get a bit of a different response to you. You know, if I've got my crew gear on and I'm one of the guys and I'm working a camera or laying cables, your interaction you have is actually sometimes quite different to, say, if I've got a suit on or I'm seeing a client or I'm, you know, you're the same person but fulfilling a different role. So
we kind of have to blend in, don't we, a little bit, and then.
But ultimately, it's basically treat people how you'd expect to be treated, and it comes back in, you know, it comes
In
back
volumes, doesn't it?
massively more.
And I love it when we get our filmmakers and they'll text me mid-shoot going, "This is the best stuff I've ever shot," and I'm thinking, "Oh, that's brilliant!"
Yeah.
Like I love seeing the
That's great feedback.
Yeah,
isn't it?
I love it.
And that's a kind of also another fundamental, you know, from on a personal level, that the day I stop getting excited about the work we produce is the day I'm going to stop doing this job, because that's infectious. You can always tell if someone has an average promo made, a pretty sort of, you know, we don't do cookie cutter production. We don't do it. We start everything new. We don't do templates. We don't do off the shelf stuff. Everything we do, you know, we start from scratch and it's bespoke and it's for you and it fits what you need it for. And you do get a sixth sense for it. I've been doing this for many years now, and you can see the half-assedness that other people have done, you know, and it kind of makes you think, well, why have you done that?
Yeah.
And I think, well, I mean, not to talk too much
I know,
about
we
are literally
this
just,
is your podcast. So
Yeah,
it's fine.
I know
It's
we're
okay.
you're going to have to cut down
Oh my
a lot of
goodness.
this, but I think the other thing as well is that to jump on top of that is that now that we've introduced our monthly plans with clients where we do monthly content creation, we've kind of ingrained ourselves in businesses in a different way where it's not just like the one-off shoot. We can kind of go in every month and do a bit of work with them to a budget like every single month, and we get to see that growth over a longer period of time. So that in itself was kind of, it's been a process of like applying what we have on shoots, which is all the things you were talking about there, but applying it over a longer period of time.
Absolutely.
And that in itself has been really interesting as well.
Because I mean, with all marketing, which of course film and videography, I can't say that, videography is, you know, it's all part of marketing, it's all part of the marketing package, and therefore you can't expect necessarily, I mean, it's great if you do something and it literally goes, I'm not going to say viral because I think viral is actually not a great thing, but, you know, if it makes a massive impact straight away, then that's great, but equally, it's over time as well, isn't it? It's that build and consistency that is what you want. So.
And sorry, I know. I'm just going to keep stealing the. The other thing as well is that it just still blows my mind that the bar is set so low in some businesses and some industries. You know, insofar as, you know, almost like in some areas that we work in, almost like just turning up is almost like is your USP.
Grateful for.
It never fails to amaze me when people go, oh gosh, you know.
Do you think that's to do with budget that people want to pay, or do you think that's just the nature of an industry that perhaps has developed?
I think it's to do with there are some half-assed people out there, you know, and I just feel it's a real shame if you know it upsets me when you feel that people have paid over the odds for something, or it upsets me if you feel like they've been a bit, you know,
down on service, or
it's not solely based on what we do for a living. It's just anything across the board. I just find it. I just think, well, you know, just do a good job.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, definitely. So coming back to those values, because obviously you mentioned them about nurturing and supporting the team, and obviously your clients, everything else. Have those values always been ingrained in the business since you started it, and has it come from a place where perhaps you didn't have that? So therefore, you're a bit like you just said, you know, why are people acting like this? Why do people think half-assed is fine? But actually, why wouldn't you support and nurture your people to get the best out of them?
I think what it is, well, the way I see it anyway, is that because we are a multi-generational business, which is a very nice big word to use, but like because we do have two generations in the business, we've come from two very different angles to the same point. And I think what we combine is Chris's wisdom, Chris's sort of experience, and the longevity of your career, not to say you're old or anything, but like I'm trying to find nice polite ways of saying it. The longevity, but like Chris has been obviously by default in this business, in this industry a lot longer than me.
Yeah.
But I have also come into it from a different generation, from a different point. I grew up in more of a digital age. I grew up with social media. I understand certain elements quite quickly. Chris gets all the relevance really quickly, and
the old stuff, like chalk and board.
Is that we're applying. We can apply the sort of the more sort of technical knowledge and experience to newer stuff, and I think like we've been able to kind of combine two generations worth of knowledge into one, and the stuff that you obviously have done, even before I was born, all that sort of, the long time that you've got all that experience.
Oh, again.
I know,
Another
sorry.
little dig.
But that combined...
Christmas is coming, you
I was going to say, that combined along with my experience of growing up in and around that kind of world, those two things complement each other quite nicely. But I do think that our values as a business come from our family values as well. Like we don't really, we don't tend to. They all blend in together.
I think you've got to see the good in you got to start at that position. I think it doesn't matter, and this is just a philosophy on life.
Okay.
But you just start at that
People
point.
take note.
Yes,
Buckle
exactly.
in.
Just start. I just think if you start at the point where the person's okay and they're a sound person and they're going to be nice, and then let them prove otherwise. And that sounds. And I think if we tend to have that philosophy in business, because I've always been accused over the years of being you're too nice. You're too nice. You're such, and it's like, well, why?
How is too nice? Yeah. What is too nice?
What's too nice? But I think we've created this thing where to be an entrepreneur, to be a successful business person, you've got to be hard nosed. You've got to screw the opposition. You've got to break them down. You've got to, and actually, I don't want to do that at all. I want to be able to sleep at night. And actually, I don't want to be that person at all. And if someone says to me, well, you quoted this project, but you clearly left a couple of grand on the table. It's like, well, so what? We quoted it right. We have a.
So you're being fair.
We're being fair. It's like whatever, and it works. And it works both ways. That we have a very we have a system where how we quote for the work we do. And that's our price to do a project as we understand the scope of the project. Yeah. Well, sometimes the client might go, blimey, that's cheap, but other times they might go, blimey, that's expensive. Yeah. But we just sit there and say, well, that's what we charge, and it enables us to have a clear conscience.
Yeah. And also it's back to the kind of value that you bring as well. So it's not just the film equipment or the filming, it's the editing, it's the creative side to it and everything else. So it's like myself, my price is my price because I bring 30 plus years experience, and all that kind of stuff. So there's definitely value to that. And also I think, typically I would say this, that if someone doesn't want to buy because it's too expensive or too cheap, then they're clearly not the right person or the right business.
And when it's all about money, often that means they're not going to care about the end product anyway.
Exactly.
Like I think that's
very true.
Like when if we've worked with someone who only cares about the budget, just only the budget, they're never going to care about what you produce because they're not believers really in that respect.
Yeah,
but I think in terms of like back to your question about values and how they might have changed over time.
I forgot the question.
But in that respect, I think that they just they've evolved basically. I think like weirdly, if you look back, but then I suppose the industry we've been in has transformed so much even since when we started working together nearly a decade ago. Is that in itself? Back then, the focus was on a 2-minute corporate film, and but now it's gone to 15-second pieces of content, 30-second pieces of content over multiple platforms in different resolutions, vertical, landscape. Like it's content that's just audio, content that's just video, content that looks homemade, content that looks professional. Like it started off as one product basically. Back
one option.
And now there's even on Instagram alone, there's about 8 different ways of communicating. So we've had to try and hold on to the same core values, but I think show them and bring them and apply them in different ways to different things because and I don't even know what it's going to be like in 2 years' time or 4 years' time or 5 years' time.
That's a really good observation because the other thing as well is that when I started kind of the sort of the embryonic fledgling part of this business in the 80s.
I don't even remember those days.
Exactly.
You had long hair.
I had long hair. my point is,
I need to see a photo of that. That would be very good.
It's just the terminology that's the same. There's no part of what we did in the 80s and the 90s. There's no part at all that is relevant to what we do now, apart from the philosophy and kind of the creative ability to say, well, that looks right, or that does the job it was originally intended for. There's no part of the production process at all that's the same. So in a way, I say I've been in this industry for 30 odd years, when in reality, what I do is start a new job every 4 years, because that's the nature. That's the nature of this. And and you take some of the experience with you, but ultimately there's no part that is the same. Even like when everything went to digital from film, when everything the fact.
Well, look at floppy disks.
Yeah, exactly.
But then I would also argue that your experience counts for a huge amount anyway. So, and how you approach a project is probably very similar. I'm sure you probably learned along the way as well, but probably very similar to how you've always done it. Yeah. So actually, that side it's the same as me. So although marketing, the underlying kind of rules of marketing probably haven't changed ever. No. They've always been the same. It's just how you apply them differently, which I guess is where you're coming from.
And I think the other thing as well is that one thing that the experience can give you though is the authority to ask the client, what are you doing this for?
Yeah, exactly right. What do you actually want?
What do you actually actually want? Like why? We get this where people come to us and say, we want to do this, and you go, okay, we can do that for you, but what's your business?
What's your game?
What's your business rationale for doing this? And they go, oh, I don't know. Our competitors are doing it. Well, how do you know if your competitors are doing it well? How is it? Why is it successful? And actually, when you get into that conversation, we're straying dangerously close into your world there.
Well, that's okay. You're very welcome to my world.
But always. To be able to say to somebody, well, why do that? Yeah. Why? And then it has been known for us to say, actually, you know what? Because we've had clients come to us and say, right, we'd like you to make us a TV advert for a product or for a service or whatever, and we go, well, we could. But you don't need a TV advert. What you need to do is address your core branding, or what you need to do is address your core messages. Yeah. You need to start. You've jumped the gun slightly. Go back to the basics.
Well,
absolutely. Get the foundations set.
Yeah,
absolutely
that's
right.
how our monthly plan concept really came around.
Yeah.
Because we began working with clients who the moment you start, I mean, you'll find this as well. The moment you start scratching beneath the surface, you start to see the tip of the iceberg, and then underneath it you go, okay, actually there's a lot that behind the scenes work that needs to happen. There's a lot of groundwork, foundational stuff that needs to happen. And I think that that's where we identified that applying what we do and our way of working to businesses over a longer period of time, that allows you to really get in there. Because when you just dip in and out and someone says, oh, I want 10 videos made, you sort of want to go, yeah, but where are they going? What's the purpose?
For? Yeah, exactly.
Are you growing your audience, or are you selling to them?
Yeah.
Like, what's the deal there?
And that's how I would definitely go into a business, like talking about their marketing strategies. Like, what have you done in the past? Obviously, where are you now? Where do you want the business to go? It's not just about where you want the marketing to be. Like, where are you taking the business? Because what you think, I'm not being rude to my clients, try not to be, but what you think might work may not even work, and you might not be ready to do your marketing yet. You might have to go back to do, like you say, your branding or just business objectives, strategy and alignment and all that kind of stuff first. So there's a massive.
And I think there is a real sense, particularly in the marketing world, whether you find this, is that there's an expectation that things happen really quickly. So it's like if you apply this 30-day strategy, you're going to have 20 million followers and be a millionaire. It's almost like there's a belief that social media and marketing currently is very kind of instant, immediate gratification. It's very formulaic. It's very put X and Y in and you'll get Z. But actually, it's about building a narrative and having a plan over maybe even years, not just weeks. And I think weirdly, I think what we're all up against is that expectation that things happen like this all the time. But actually, it doesn't happen like that.
No, and if it does happen super quick, it doesn't mean it's sustainable either.
Yeah, so, exactly. Yeah,
it just means that maybe it is a flash in the pan, and it might have some like brilliant impacts once, and then never again. But actually, I would rather have impact, like I said before, like building over time and make the business become more sustainable in a longevity point of view, and actually building that revenue or profit or whatever the goal actually is.
Totally.
Yeah, definitely. So just going very quickly back to your values. Oh dear, I don't know. No, not at all. I mean, I don't know how. Yeah.
If you know it well enough,
anyway,
you can just say it.
I know actually. Maybe never be rude. But shut up, Chris. What other values? You said obviously there's philosophies within the business. So what other values kind of like do you introduce? Because I know you've got an amazing culture in the business. I have been team Howell Media just for one day, but I can't tell anyone about it. And I wasn't filming or anything. Definitely not.
Yet?
No, not yet. Okay. Well, that's a promise on camera. What other philosophies or values do you bring into the business that you think are really important?
Well, I think that obviously, and this is something that we've touched on, is the sort of like the environmental sustainability side of it. And this is, I'll be honest, it's a new thing for us.
Yeah.
And it's also something that I don't like tick box exercises. I'm not going to go, oh well, we have to have an environmental policy, a sustainability policy, because
it looks good.
Because it looks good,
Yeah.
or we're not going to win this work without it. So that's something that that's new. That is new to me and to us, and to look at kind of like how we can make small changes. So.
You have been listening.
Yeah, we have. Like even little things like we've been sharing cars more recently. So Izzy and Alice went off quite a long way away to do some filming recently, and we made sure that they went together, and so just I mean there's small steps, and obviously, but in terms, but
nothing at all.
but I think.
Yeah, better than a massive grand gesture that you can't sustain anyway.
So that's a kind of a new and something that we are, it is very much on my radar at the minute. And then in terms of other values, we've got I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, but we've got a strict policy.
Yeah, you can say it.
Yeah.
But
We have an anti-dickhead policy.
Oh, okay. Bleep. Oh, well.
So and I know it's not formal. I know it's not kind of formal business school stuff.
Please don't call it that on your website or anything.
But
you're giving away our secrets now.
We just can't work with people who have we can't work with people who've got views that not that we're going to get into politics or religion or anything like that. But there's a
we don't believe in what we do.
But we will not. If we don't rub along, the relationship will always, it will never suddenly start working. So
maybe we need to get a bit better name than that. Because
it says what it is, though, doesn't it?
We probably need more of a clean name for it.
I'll do some work for you. Don't worry. I'll think of something for you.
I know I'm waffling now, which I've been known to do. But I'm really passionate about that. That basically, I don't want to be around negativity. I don't want to be around doom and gloom. There's enough of that in the world.
We're always trying to bring the positivity out.
And actually, you know what? Like I'm quite lucky that I don't really care what anybody thinks of me, to be honest. If people can think, well, they can criticize me for anything, but I'd be really. The only thing I would take personally is if someone accused me of being, I don't know, racist, or if I was accused of being something that we find abhorrent in our organisation and in our family. That would hurt me more than someone saying, "Oh, he's a bit of a prat," or
he doesn't do his job very well.
I don't
think anyone said.
But ultimately, I don't care. But I do care about those values, and we have a. Well, this is kind of weird. I was going to say we have a zero tolerance to anything like that, but we never have anything like that because we only work with with the people that wouldn't be like that at all.
That's it, because we can't. And with being a family business, the name is on the door. Obviously, any family business and any business will tell you that you can't take it personally. You got to separate business and personal, but it is personal to us. Like, we genuinely care.
We have to have some of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Otherwise, you wouldn't be passionate about what you do.
Exactly. I will. We will genuinely want to see people do well. We genuinely want to see content out there. Like, if anyone shares what we do or talks about us or says nice things, it genuinely does. We feel it here because and that's what kind of drives us. And I think from my values, can I talk about mine now?
Yeah. Sorry, run out of time.
I was going to say, is it my turn now? My approach is that my hope for the future is, or a mission that I want, is to bring more women into the film industry and more women into what we do behind cameras, behind editing desks.
Are they underrepresented, do you think?
Yeah, massively so. I think like the fact that, as a video editor, I am the only woman that I know doing what I'm doing
Really?
with my software. You're on obviously DaVinci Resolve, so I'm
Oh,
speaking to a
well,
fellow editor.
Yeah,
but
I
like,
wouldn't put me anywhere near classes.
but like I find that actually like having more women behind cameras, more women in film sets, and I love the fact that at Atomicon, for example, we have more women than men on our film crew, and me and Alice, obviously we're like a little double act. We go down and shoot places and do things, but I think it's really important that particularly women, young people from the northeast as well, people who basically can't traditionally find a way in by going to London and having to go for a very expensive degree and all this sort of stuff. Like people who just really have the same passion, the same interests, the same drive as us, and just need that in. And I like the idea that hopefully, I mean, we've worked with young people from different parts of the world, different parts of the UK, and from different backgrounds and all sorts. And I love to see when you see we've had people, particularly, we've had young women from the local area around Barnard Castle now who have been working with us, who now work in quite big production companies, who've got credits, have got IMDb profiles, they've done all those really cool stuff. And
that's quite something, isn't it?
Yeah, and I just think that, I think just to see more women in what we do is such an important thing to me, and hopefully we're 50% of our business anyway. So maybe more than that actually with Alice.
Maybe more now.
But you should. I mean, again, you shouldn't really have to.
Yeah, it shouldn't be a thing, but it is a thing.
But it is a thing. And it's still frustrating that so if we are doing an event and we've got a highly skilled female camera operator, you'd be amazed at how many helpful guys turn up and offer advice to them on how
really?
to from the audience who come up and say,
you want to make sure that lens cap's off.
Yeah, you want to make sure.
Yeah. Have you pressed record? You have it all, and I think I've been told that I should really look into those real film companies. And I think, actually, I am part of one.
Yes.
So,
I actually am 50% of one. Yeah.
So I think that world is something that I'm really keen to encourage, and I think hopefully over time we have been doing that, and we plan to do that even more.
Filtering your responsible business approach into your industry, which is amazing.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So do you find then those kind of values and philosophies that are the backbone of the business and the family, does that give you an easier way to decide on who you work with client-wise as well?
Well,
or is that
a
difficult question to answer? I'm not sure.
What we have is that I don't know, you bring me back to reality quite a lot sometimes when we get inquiries or but I think you're quite, I don't know, I get very excited by opportunities and stuff going on, and then you've got the experience of knowing you have a sixth sense of who is going to work with us, who's going to kind of disappear. I think we've over the years we've gradually, you get a set, once you've done it before in every industry, you get a sense, I think, of who's going to bite and who isn't, and who's going to be in it and who isn't.
I mean, I think it is a distillation process. I think that, ultimately I suppose I've just drawn a funnel there, haven't I? A sales funnel.
Yes.
So nothing new there. But
it's the old school stuff that works the best.
It's not a done deal until it's a done deal. I suppose that we can be guilty about getting excited about an opportunity, but you still got to win. You still got to win that business. Yeah.
I'm the one who's already planned it all out in my head, and you're like, hang on,
you're already
slow down.
Yeah.
So we both kind of complement each other.
There's a lot that has to align for a project to come to life, and depending on what the project is, it can be either quite quick and we're involved in something almost instantaneously, or it could be a real slow burn. I mean, we've got projects, and I'm not exaggerating. We've got projects that have taken years in the production. So there's no kind of it can be anything from days to years.
Yeah.
So
or referrals where people have seen our brand or met us 5 years ago, have now sort of suggested us, and we've won work through them.
And you can't. I mean, the referral is something that we take really seriously.
Absolutely.
If somebody goes out of their way to refer us to one of their, I'm just a bloody walking cliche, but you know what I mean.
But it's true. It's still okay. So, like I said, marketing. The marketing underlying rules. Word of mouth is still the best marketing tool you can have.
Yeah, it still applies. So
it works every time. Yeah, definitely. Just quickly going back to equipment and things like that, and talking about sustainability. I know you touched on the changing journeys and bits and pieces like that. So, obviously your industry, like you said before, like it changes so quickly tech-wise and equipment-wise. You clearly take some time as to whether you need to go to that very top end straight away or whether you're going to wait for it or whatever, or what benefit it brings you. But what happens to your equipment when it's done and dusted? Does it get like stuck in a cupboard or?
We do have a policy.
It's not as rude as the other one.
No, it's actually not.
Hard to call equipment that word though, isn't it? Yeah. I don't like you anymore. You're gone.
We'll do one of two things when a piece of equipment runs the end of its life cycle.
Yeah.
We do one of two things. If it still has a value of some significance, we will chop it in for another new bit of equipment.
Okay.
If it doesn't, we'll probably just give it away.
Oh, okay.
That would be
because I think really is that the cameras we use and the kit we use is obviously fits our brand, it fits what we do in our current state. But there are budding filmmakers, there are people out there that even having a camera that's a few years old, it's a game changer. Like for example, and the reason why I say this is that one of our filmmakers started off, his first camera was a Canon 5D or something. It was quite old in the grand scheme of things. Old being like 10 years old or whatever. But like
not a box brownie.
but like, or a Bell and Howell or something. But but he passed that on to a friend who wanted to do some sort of telescopic like astrophotography. And that camera that we would class as probably not right or too old or doesn't fit within what we do, he uses even now to take pictures of Saturn and pictures of the moon and like really amazing, beautiful pictures that go all over social media. So it's like, I think every bit of equipment we use, it doesn't get binned, it doesn't just get chucked away or thrown in a pile.
I'm relieved to hear that.
Yeah, no, it gets in our world anyway. It gets sold on to someone or given away to someone who wants who's at the start of their journey, and it might not fit what we do, but it'll fit someone else's journey, and a bit like cars really in that respect. Like, you know, I started off with a little old second-hand car, but then over the years you gradually build up to something that, you know, fits with what you do. But yeah, it's valuable to someone somewhere.
Absolutely.
So then from a marketing point of view, because I'm always going to bring you back to your own marketing, do you tell people that you do that?
No.
Okay, good. Marvellous. Thank you for that answer. Are you going to consider perhaps telling?
Actually, yeah, I think
because again, it's part of your brand value and how the culture of the business, you know, works, and your approach to things. You know, it's very important, and clearly, you know, given the podcast I'm doing, it's important for I think for listeners and watchers to understand what happens with your equipment. Because if you just dumped it, you know, there'd be some sort of, I don't know, a bit like a tyre mountain, you know, a camera or equipment mountain.
If I'm honest, we never talk about our equipment, do we?
No. I mean, there are some things like as part of our insurance. So particularly for the live streaming, live broadcast work we do. Yeah. Some equipment that we have has to go through a kind of we can't have stuff that may or may not work on a live broadcast.
Absolutely.
And we also have to have built-in redundancy. So the other weird thing is we've got some kit that's quite old that has hardly ever been used. So we've got some equipment that might be 5 years old that might have only been used once or twice, because it always is a fallback. So if you're doing a live, say if you're doing, say as an example, on Wednesday we're doing an event, and it's a 3-camera setup. So we're doing a close, a medium, and a wide for a conference. We are going to take 4 cameras to that event, not 3 cameras. Should the unthinkable happen and one of our cameras breaks, we've got a spare.
The line that you use, there's 2 types of kit in this world.
There's 2 types of hard drives in this world, but it applies to everything.
One that's failed and one that's about to fail.
Oh,
that's our philosophy.
Okay.
So that's it. I mean,
that's where the furious pessimism comes in.
It's an old term about hard drives from back in the day. There are 2 types of hard drives in the world. Yeah, as Izzy said, one that's failed and one that's about to fail. Yeah. And we apply the same logic. So what I'm saying is that camera number 4 hopefully won't get used.
Yes.
And
won't need it.
And hopefully has never been used.
Yeah.
So in 3 or 4.
But it's not really redundant, as in it's bought and never used because it's useless.
But in 3 or 4 years' time, as Izzy said, that camera, we could sell it, or we could give it away, or we could gift it to a school or a group or whatever. Yeah. It's basically a brand new camera.
Yeah.
because it's never been used. And we've got the same with our ATEM systems, which is our live stream systems. We always take 2 to every event we do, on the basis that the day you don't take the second one will be the day you need it.
The day.
Like all insurance. Hopefully the best insurance is the ones that you never use. So,
but I think in our marketing in general, we've always thought to talk about the people, but actually I think our kit is something that we should probably talk about more, because it's integral to it is integral to what we do. Otherwise it's just a bunch of people talking about films. But I think that's something that we should definitely look into doing more of. So
good, my job is done. No, not quite. I'm glad you brought up the live streaming, because I want to talk a little bit about that as well, because I had another podcast with Owen Waitman, who you know, and we talked about how his service offers venues, because he's recreating the venues in like 3D space. And so that offers the venues or the event host to offer more accessibility. So whether for people who are coming to the event and want to know in advance, or whether it's just people who can't see it straight away or can't be at the venue. So I guess you guys with your live streaming do something similar. So have you considered that to be...
That is a really good...
Like promoting yourselves as being more responsible, but also helping your event hosts and your venues?
That's a really interesting angle, actually, because normally what happens is we work around a floor plan, or we go to an event that we filmed at lots of times. So like as an example, I don't know, like the Glass House in Gateshead. In Gateshead. They're very particular.
I know. Sorry. Glass House in Gateshead, not Newcastle.
We know the setup to the point where, I mean, I was talking to a photographer friend of ours, and he was saying he even knows where every noisy floorboard is in the Glass House.
Wow, that's
so that because if he's out photographing like a classical music. The conductor does not like photographers walking around. So you reach a point where you get to know a venue absolutely. You know, I know where all the plug sockets are and all the stuff there. But actually, if it's a venue we've not shot at before, having access to a 3D model, planning all that in would be really useful for us, because we generally rely on floor plans. We generally rely on having a conversation with the client, with the venue, with
power plans as well. So I think well, on the other side of it, viewing wise, live streaming has accessibility and sustainability elements to it.
Totally.
So the viewer at home doesn't have to fly, he doesn't have to travel, doesn't have to drive.
Exactly
they can watch it from wherever. And I think and obviously and an accessibility footing as well, and really our live stream side of things kind of took off during the pandemic for obvious reasons, but I think that change in how we function as a society with events and how we function within business has massively transformed. So some to some of the live streams we've done in the past, there are people who literally live down the road but would rather watch it virtually than travel, because actually you can work a little bit, you can dip in and out, it's a different way of doing it. So the live stream side of things is something that we're still pushing, and it is still a growing industry. It's still something that a lot of people assumed when the pandemic stopped, everyone would want to come flocking back to big live spaces, but it has massively changed.
Another little marketing content for you there, just drop that one in. So, well, okay, in which case, in return for those little snippets that I've given you, if you don't mind, well, you might not even take them on board.
We've taken them on board, thank you.
Oh, definitely.
Would you be willing to just give away to our viewers and our listeners a little tip on either film or visual comms?
I thought you were going to say a camera then.
Yes. Could you give everyone listening and watching a free camera?
Oh, no.
Absolutely not, we haven't agreed that.
Did you not read the contract before you came on?
You did sign it as well. No, just a little tip.
Give
a tip. So because obviously I use film quite a lot. I know there are lots of other people who use film in different levels, so they might be as spit and sawdust as I do, maybe a bit more professionally. What's your biggest tip that you're willing to give away?
Ooh,
either filming or editing.
Well, my biggest tip would be to give it a go. My biggest tip would be you never look as bad or come across as useless as you think you're going to be.
Editing,
just give it a go.
Still time.
I mean, I think there's room for everybody, and I know we haven't touched on our training business, and that's perhaps for another time. But we basically film, video, the moving image is brilliant. It's the most engaging tool you can use to communicate a message. I believe, and I think my tip would just be just give it a go.
Start.
And just start, see the benefit of it, and then if you then feel that you need professional help, then reach out to somebody like us, not necessarily us, but like us.
Nice
and,
plug.
and I suppose as a tip, I know you didn't ask for a tip for life, but
You get one anyway with
you get
Chris.
one anyway.
He's like a fortune
I
cookie.
am like a fortune cookie. Yeah. My just pay for expertise. That's one
Okay.
thing. That's one philosophy that I have learned from business, that pay an expert that actually knows what they're talking about.
Yeah, and you can learn from. Yeah.
My tip from a production footing is once
Yeah.
you've decided to give it a go and
Yeah.
do it, the core thing is make a plan and keep that plan going over a longer period of time, because I think
It's a good one.
because what tends to happen is that you'll set up your camera and you'll go, right, Chris has said just to get on with it and do it, and then you press record and you go, and then you go, oh, that was hard, I'm never doing that again. But actually and if you don't know where to start with the plan, the question you have to answer relating to your content is, what problem are you trying to solve? So what problem is it that you sat with your camera right there right now is going to solve for someone on the other side? And then if you're getting bogged down understanding what to do, what to talk about, just keep going back to that, what problem am I trying to solve? Because then that will keep you on the straight and narrow. And then when you go to do it, don't think just making one video, think, how can I make this answer about what problem I'm trying to solve? How can I make that into 10 videos? So write down 10 points, 10 videos, because really we want to see you 10 times, not one time nowadays. So,
You're so kind.
Yeah.
Thank
Can
you.
I swap my answer to that one?
yeah, so we're kind of the same person.
I'll edit yours out, it's fine.
But yeah, so that's more of a practical one, but longevity and
Yeah.
what problem you're trying to solve.
Yeah.
Keep
Good.
yourself
Thank you,
grounded.
guys. It's so nice.
No worries. Thanks
So-
for having us.
Well, it's a pleasure. I'm not quite done with you
Oh,
yet.
oh,
but
sorry.
you're jumping the gun. But you obviously mentioned the training, Chris. Do you want to talk a little bit about that just for a minute or so?
We
Just so
can. I
people
mean,
can
it's
understand what you're offering.
so basically we've got a separate organisation called Howell Training. Imaginatively enough.
Excellent, creative.
Basically, we provide training for people there's two sides of it. The first side is we actually do camera operating, people that want to learn about how to actually be trained in a professional setting.
Yeah.
Then the other side of it is that we train people on kind of how to use their mobile phones, how to, as Izzy just mentioned, about how to access videography in their lives and their business, and that might include confidence on camera, a load of other things, which you're going
Bit
to
of
jump in.
editing as well.
Editing.
So basically there's the two halves of it, one being the technical half if you want to get into the industry, the other half being if you are in your own industry and you run your own business but you want to actually start making content. And there's 5 different sort of courses that we offer, focusing on confidence on camera, video marketing strategy, short form content, brand DNA, and another, which is content strategy. Or we can do bespoke things. So basically go into your business and understand what it is that you want to do, and we teach you to do that thing. But basically, if we can't do it for you, we will teach you how to do it like us. And that's kind of how we peddle that. But the key thing with Howell Training is that we can go into any kind of business, any kind of setup, size. It could be one person on their own, or it could be 100 people, and we basically show them how to do it. And that's the kind of the line of take a horse to water, and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it's really about equipping people with we don't have lots of secret spices. We don't have a secret recipe to what we do. It's just about applying what we do from our industry and applying it on a day-to-day and seeing that develop over a longer period of time. Because as I said, longevity, consistency is more important than everything looking pretty all the time. So that's kind of something that we've pushed alongside our monthly content creation plans. So sometimes our clients who get the benefit of us making their content creation every month do get the benefit of us providing consultancy time, one-to-one training, so they all kind of blend together. But that's sort of the message that we've been putting out on that side more than anything.
Because that's where things have changed. That it used to be that you'd hire a video company to come and make you a video. Now you don't need to do that, and we would say, well, don't do that. Don't hire us once. Hire us once to teach you how to do it, and then make 20. yourself, you know, like, and so that's kind of the philosophy there.
Yet another lovely value to your business.
We
You're
have-
so
we have-
good.
We're just full of value. aren't
I
we?
know, you are.
Just go.
All added value. So finally, just to round up,
Okay.
where can people find you, either for training or for hiring for film or anything else? Or your podcast as well, you must mention
Wow.
the podcast.
Well, so they can go to our website, which is howellmedia.co.uk.
Correct?
Or you can find us on Instagram and LinkedIn at Howell Media, and on YouTube as well, called Howell Media UK, where we have every video, all of our podcasts, everything we've ever produced is on there. You can just speak to us directly and
Yeah, reach out.
reach out, talk to us, come chat to us.
Yep.
Or
I like a chat.
Yes, you do like a chat.
our podcast is,
I know that.
and if you like to hear Chris chatting, our podcast is called Looks Like We Made It.
Yeah.
And that's got 5 seasons now. We've been doing it for a few years, but you have been a valued guest on there as well, VIP.
I was very privileged to be on.
And we have all kinds of, we just basically talk about video marketing. We talk about basically stuff that we want to get off our chest really in the world of marketing.
Yeah,
So
it's good fun.
it is a lot of fun, and we enjoy being on podcasts. We enjoy making podcasts. So you can find that wherever you get them, as well as YouTube as well.
Fantastic. Thank you both so much for your time
Thanks for
today. I
having
really
us.
appreciated it.
Brilliant.
Thanks for listening and thanks for watching. See you next time.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the Responsible Marketing Podcast. You can contact me with any questions or comments by email at joe@jolonconsulting.com or find me on LinkedIn. All recordings of the podcast can be found on the usual podcast channels, as well as on YouTube if you prefer to watch rather than just listen. If you've enjoyed this episode, please hit subscribe, which helps the podcast to be found by more people. And of course, feel free to share it on your socials with your friends and your colleagues. That's it for now, so until next time, thanks for listening.